All right, so today I'm going to be talking about, well, as you can tell by the title, nostalgic Aussie horse racing horses. Yeah, obviously I didn't make a video last week, so I was busy with work and some other stuff. But this week I'll be doing the preview tomorrow for the races and this video as well. So these are horses that kind of fly under the radar. Like, they're not champions. Well, one of them is. The last horse is 100% a champion. But, you know, they're kind of horses that flew a bit under the radar. And, you know, that they might have, you know, they might have won in a ridiculous fashion, or just kind of horses that take me back to my childhood a little bit. So, you know, from like 10, 15 years ago. So, yeah, we'll start off with Wurum. Obviously, Queensland trained horse, trained by Robert Heathcote. You know, he was okay. You know, he won a few races here and there. He was a feature in those sort of like Queensland Group 1 sprints. But there's one race that really comes to mind when I think of Wurum, and that was his winning the Oakley Plate in 2012. One of the most ridiculous wins you'll ever see on a racetrack, especially at Caulfield, coming from the back as well. In the orange hat, you know, he's barely in the frame. He's out of the frame. Well, no, he's in the frame, but like, you know what I mean. He's barely in the fucking frame. Just comes flying home. He still looks like a loser into the last bloody 100 meters. Fucking hell! Like, that's a mad win. Crazy. Kind of like Chautauqua. Chautauqua should be here, but just a little bit obvious, I think, when you think of ridiculous wins. But yeah, good horse Wurum, you know. Yeah, very nostalgic, that win. That was, you know, massive at the time. All right, move on to Buffering. You know, he's one of the all-time Aussie sprinters, but he was kind of best known to begin with as, you know, being an amazing horse, but he'd never won a Group 1. You know, went a long time without, you know, winning at the highest level. He was placed a lot of times, but he didn't win one until he ran in a Manikato Stakes one time. And then after that, you know, he won plenty more. He won the Alquoz Sprint at Meydan, which is an enormous feat for an Australian sprinter. It's not usually targeted by Australians, but, you know, he managed to win there. And yeah, just a cracking horse. You know, Queensland trained as well. This was his winning the Manikato to win his first Group 1.
Lucky 9 picking up in sessions. Buffering clinging on from
such a gritty horse to hold on here.
Lucky 9 after Buffering hanging on.
Such a good horse. You know, amazing call by Greg Miles as well. For me, he's the all-time GOAT race caller. Him and Richard Hoyle, they're the best ever, I reckon. Richard Hoyle is the guy that does ITV for the flat racing in the UK. That bloke is very good. But yeah, Buffering, what a horse. Just legendary sprinter. You know, he might not be in that sort of champion category, but, you know, he's just great horse. Another thing I like as well is that Damien Brown rode him like his whole career, well, pretty much. So, yeah, just a legend, that horse is. We'll move on now to, all right, so Albert the Fat. A bit of a random horse. I basically chose him because it's a funny name. Like, when I was a kid, I would have found that, like, funny name and stuff. But yeah, you know, he's most known for his winning the Emirates Stakes in 2011. We'll just have a quick look at that because, you know, I don't really know why I chose this horse, to be honest. I just remember it being a funny thing at the time.
Albert the Fat coming after him, second
yeah, flying down the outside.
This is going to be a close photo finish.
Albert the Fat closing the 2011 Melbourne Cup Carnival with a win. So, yeah, just one of those horses that kind of takes me back a little bit. Kind of just a random horse. You know, I could make this same video with, like, you know, 50 different horses. So, right, I'll move on. This is a proper, like, hood legend, hood classic. This horse, Shamus Award. You know, he won the Cox Plate as a maiden. You know, this horse changed racing in that maidens became ineligible for the Cox Plate. So, you know, to win this as a 3-year-old, Chad Schofield as well. He would have been like fucking 12 years old when this horse won, carrying like 49 kilos. This would have been a generational day on Twitter, like back then, I reckon, on racing Twitter. But yeah, there were some good horses there too, like Side Glance, who was a good international horse. It's an Undeal, Happy Trails. Jeez, this was a crazy win for a bloody 3-year-old maiden to win the bloody Cox Plate. Crazy time. And Sporting Bet in the background. Yeah, that's a flashback. Sporting Bet, far out. Alright, move on to the next one now. It's Prince of Penzance. I think this is a pretty obvious one, to be honest. When this horse won the Melbourne Cup it was the first time a female jockey had won the race as well. And I think when this horse won it, it was a story that extended past horse racing, and it became an international headline all around the world because of Michelle Payne on board. He went into the race as a 100 to 1 shot, no chance. And prior to that, he was a bit of a journeyman stayer. That there's a lot of those, but he was kind of that sort of horse. Obviously won the Melbourne Cup. A movie got made about this sort of thing. So I don't think I've seen the movie actually, but massive shock at the time. Max Dynamite flying home. Willie Mullins trained horse with Frankie Dettori on board. I think Frankie Dettori got like a fine for whipping too much that day. Just generational hood classic. Streets will never forget type horse. Prince of Penzance. I remember I think I was on the school bus that day, and like the radio was going over the bus, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, surely not. Like he's gotten the race call's gotten it wrong or something. We'll move on. All American. This is an interesting one. I don't know why I'm choosing Emirates Stakes winners. Just a coincidence, I think. And I'm choosing predominantly Victorian horses too, which makes even less sense because I'm from Sydney and I've never been racing in Victoria. So I don't know, just a random collation of nostalgic horses, I guess. So All American. Now we know him best for his Emirates Stakes win, where he beat So You Think, and this was after So You Think won the Cox Plate as a 3-year-old. This was a budding champion. He was looking pretty immortal after that Cox Plate. He would have been like $1.10. No, not $1.10. He would have been like $1.60 or something that day probably. But long prep. He might have hit the front a bit too early. But then All American just jumps out of the ground to beat him. Just a great win. And it capitalised on a horse that might have been a bit burnt out in So You Think. Flying home All American, what a win. Just another sort of random win, but that might have been So You Think in second place, like being like, oh, I need revenge, and then going to win 20 Group 1s afterwards. So we'll move on. Another random one, Desperado, obviously a New Zealand bred stayer trained by Gay Waterhouse. He was pretty good. He won a few Group 1s here and there. I believe that was the Caulfield Stakes that he won in his last career start. So very very trusty stayer. But he's best known for his winning the Caulfield Cup with Chris Munns aboard. Pretty wet track this day. There were some good horses there too, like Mr. Medici, who was a Group 1 winner in Hong Kong, Harris Tweed, Manigar. I think that's shocking running down the outside as well. It was a good field, and Desperado got away with one up the inside. Good ride by Chris Munns. Just kind of a random Caulfield Cup winner that just came to my mind when I was thinking of horses for this video. I'll move on to the next one. Criterion. Now, genuinely, this is one of the most underrated horses of the last 10 years, in my opinion. I remember him as a 2-year-old as it being like a really nice chestnut horse. But, this horse danced in every dance. He was a very good 2,000 metre horse. He won Group 1s. His Queen Elizabeth was probably his best win. But he went to Ascot and York to run in those Group 1s. The Juddmonte International, which is one of the hardest races in the world to win. And that just goes to show what the trainers thought of him. They wanted to travel him, running these massive 2,000 metre races. He obviously fell a bit short, but it just goes to show what a good horse he was to run in these massive races. Third in the Queen Elizabeth Cup, I think it is at Sha-Tin. And then third in the Melbourne Cup too. Just a really, really good horse. Very underrated, I think. He never gets spoken about that much. Probably doesn't get his flowers, but, just an amazing horse. We'll look at his Queen Elizabeth win. Because I actually forgot what it looked like when he won, but he won so well here. Why not target a Juddmonte International or a Prince of Wales after winning it like this? Just a really good horse. And that third in the Melbourne Cup was just so cold as well. Crazy aura to run third in that race. We'll move on to the next one. Now this was pretty obvious choice for this video. Haylist. Now, I'll be honest, he's best known for being Black Caviar's bridesmaid, but Black Caviar wasn't there. He'd probably be the best sprinter Australia's ever had. He might have gone to Ascot, but just a true all-time legend of the game. But obviously has an asterisk on it because Black Caviar ruled the sprinting divisions for the years that he was at his best as well. So, it was a very good horse in his own right. But the race that stuck out for me was winning the Newmarket Handicap off top weight. And he beat Buffering as well, who I spoke about before. He was 6 years old. It's kind of a bit on the older side, but Fox Wedge, who was a great 3-year-old at the time. This was a crazy win because he would have gone here to get away from Black Caviar. Top weight, just madness. It's so hard to win sprint handicaps from top weight. He just mows Buffering down. Just an absolute hood classic. Haylist is just hood classic. just such a good horse. If Black Caviar wasn't there, we'd put him in a different conversation. But yeah, great win, and it goes to show 10 Tyrus the other week was carrying 57 and a half kilos in the Newmarket as a 3-year-old, and it was just such a tough ask. So probably unnecessary criticism towards 10 Tyrus. It's just so hard to win those races carrying a lot of weight. So yeah, Haylist, what a goat. So speaking of goats, that brings me to the last horse I'm going to talk about here, and that's So You Think. Truly, what a horse! He expanded what an Australian or New Zealand bred horse can do on the world stage. We'll just have a quick look at his career. To be fair, I could make a whole video glazing So You Think. I could talk about it for 20 minutes, just debunking all his career starts and the horses that he beat, that sort of thing. But he won the Cox Plate as a 3-year-old, won the Cox Plate as a 4-year-old, and then his last Aussie start was 3rd in the Melbourne Cup. Just crazy form. And he was a beautiful horse as well. I think that's why the public adored him so much. And I remember on one of Glenn Boss's podcast episodes, he said 2 things actually. The first thing was that he's ridden, I think, 3 champions in his career, and So You Think's one of them. And the other one was, it was, when he got on this horse in the mounting yard, he knew it was a champ. He felt the horse knew that he was a champion. So he just had that unparalleled presence about him. And then obviously 3rd in the Melbourne Cup, Cornwall offered $20 trillion to buy him. And then he, and this is the more crazy part about him, he continued his form in Europe as well. No Aussie or New Zealand horse does that. To be a good middle distance horse is one thing, but to do it in Europe as well is just crazy ability. And another thing I'd like to point out as well is that he ran in the Arc, the Breeders' Cup Classic, and the Dubai World Cup in the space of 5 months. That no horses do that these days, especially with Aidan O'Brien as well. Obviously he's got a lot of choices, but that really goes to show the amount of confidence a legendary trainer like Aidan O'Brien had in him at the time. And then to close off his career winning the Prince of Wales Stakes, he's one of the best ever, without a doubt. And the period of time he did it over as well. I think his last career start was as a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, which is pretty rare for stallion prospects like he was. So yeah, as I said, I could talk about this horse for 20 minutes if I had to, but legendary horse. He's not really underrated. I think everyone knows that he's a champion, but the streets will never forget a horse like So You Think. And it was quite sad when he passed away recently, because he was a really noble horse in my childhood, I guess. So we'll just look at his Cox Plate when he was a 3-year-old.
Het and Rain and the 3-year-olds lead by 2 or 3.
Just what a horse. Running on with when these champions run, they look different to the rest of them. I reckon. He shook off then Het and Rain. Who got to El Segundo charging home, but it's all over. So You Think is going to go all the way. He's racing clear, and So You Think has bolted in the Cox Plate. Then Het and Rain ran second. The 3-year-olds, Quinella at Sipping, came back. I think he might have got 3rd from El Segundo. That's a photo. Scenic Shot next, and then Who Got You and Heart of Dreams. They didn't finish the race off. But yeah, what a legend So You Think is. But yeah, as I said earlier, tomorrow I'll probably drop a video talking about the races this weekend. Obviously, the Golden Slipper. There's one horse in there I think that can win. Although I can make a strong case against. But yeah, if you like this sort of stuff, like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. I usually post sort of once or twice a week. So yeah, if you like that sort of thing, just like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.